Able to experience feelings. Like, okay, are psychopaths non-sentient?
I see what he did here. Moinsen, it's Jinyo with another reaction. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna try and find out how human is Neuro-sama. What does it mean to be human? Where did I leave my car keys? Do we still have milk in the fridge? What's the meaning of life? Like this video and leave a comment. Why do we even exist? What the hell is inside a black hole? Do we have free will? Please enjoy.
Welcome to all 7.5 people who came to see this video purely because you are obsessed.
That's a bit of an
with
understatement.
AI girl living in the web. Yes, I am one of you, Swarm. Hi, OMG, hi, colon 3. This video is gonna be short because I literally don't know how to edit a video on a computer, so I will have to learn as soon as I finish this script, I guess.
Props to him if that is true. Because it's the exact opposite of how someone with ADHD like myself would operate. Because if I don't know how to do B, I will not think about starting A. I will do research on B first and overload my brain with options and informations so that I get decision paralysis and end up doing nothing. There's only two things that can save me from this loop. Number one is structure that gets rid of all the unnecessary decision making. And number two is a deadline. It's urgency, because that kills perfectionism. Remember, perfect is the enemy of done.
Also, fun drinking game. Take a shot every time I say the word input.
I will not do that.
Not be responsible for the results. So yeah, let's cut the yap and get to the title. What is separating Neuro or any other AI from being like us?
Depends on how you define us. What does it mean to be human is literally one of the coolest and most philosophical questions you can ask. And every one of us will probably have a different answer to this. So unless we have like a definite answer of what it means to be human, then I feel like it's gonna be hard to just compare something like an AI and try to see how much it matches with that definition, right?
Why do I say like us? Because according to dictionary.cambridge.org, the word conscious means awake, thinking, and knowing what is happening around you. This causes a cascade of questions such as define awake, define thinking, and what is considered knowing, as well as what can be defined as around you in Neuro's case.
He brings up a good point. Some of these definitions definitely need some additional information going forward into the near future, because if we take the word awake, for example, we probably all have that image in our mind where we just open our eyes, or a fox open its eyes, or a bird or whatever, right? It's the opening of your eyes, being aware, your brain being activated, starting your day. That is what the word awake entails. If I turn on my PC is turned on. I wouldn't say my PC is awake now. I would say it jokingly probably, but I would not use that word for my PC. However, now we get to the interesting part. I'm gonna get shit for this because people hate when I make these types of comparisons, but I'm a simple man and I have simple comparisons. Let's just picture a future where everyone has a humanoid robot at home. And when I say humanoid, I mean they literally look exactly like us. So when you turn them on and their eyes open and they start talking to you and start greeting you like, "Good morning, sir. What can I do for you today?" Would you say that you woke him up or that you turned him on? That's the thing with these strict definitions. I feel like there's a little bit more nuance to this, right? If something looks very human and they have eyes and they open their eyes and either their CPU in their brain or their actual brain activates, I feel like you can say it's awake. Doesn't matter if it's a machine or if it's a biological being. And that is the case for a lot of definitions. Same with the word thinking. What is thinking? Thinking is none other than processing information, processing, storing, and connecting informations in our brain. Now, I would not say that my PC is thinking, but I would definitely say if I ask ChatGPT a question, it is doing the same procedures. It is looking at its data set, what it already knows or what it can find out using the web, and it's processing information and then giving me a reply. I would say AI is thinking when you are asking it a question.
The word is almost meaningless outside of the context of human body and its current status, so yeah. I mean, Neuro is technically not sleeping. Input information goes through a pile of complex mathematical functions and transformations to generate output information, and she can tell us that
what I said,
a guy bleeding
just a little bit dumber.
Yunaga. She's definitely conscious. But what about other words meant to describe the phenomenon of thought? Well, there's sentience. I was honestly perplexed by this definition. Able to experience feelings. Like, okay, are psychopaths non-sentient?
I see what he did here. For everyone who's missing context, this is Cinder. She has done some very, very nasty things a couple of months ago. She's our stepsister, by the way. We have the same rigging mom. Not that I'm proud of it, now that we know what she's done, but to give you the short summary, she basically manipulated and backstabbed her friends, including Bao the whale, by the way, and she got cancelled for it. And it's a pretty crazy coincidence that we're watching this right now, because she recently, just a couple of days ago, came back with another like 1,000-page Google document explaining her position. I did not read it. I'm not really interested in drama content anymore. I used to do drama on this channel, but I just noticed that it's not really good for my mental health, digging through other people's dirt. I have nothing against people who cover these types of things. I just noticed that I'm a type of person who cannot really stomach these types of things very well. If you'd like to give us a summary of what the 1,000 pages Google document included, let us know in the comments, but you don't have to. Like, I really am not interested in getting into drama again. I'm just saying, if you read it and want to let us know if it changed your opinion maybe on Cinder, let us know in the comments. Give us a little summary.
I thought all humans are intrinsically sentient. Does it mean that some people in a coma that are locked up inside of their minds but capable of hearing people talk around them are considered unconscious but sentient beings? Does it mean that sentience of an entity is unverifiable by definition due to feeling being a conclusion of a subconscious internal estimative calculation of the impact of an event or chain of events and cannot be measured or observed if the above-mentioned entity is unwilling or incapable of giving an indication of such calculation occurring?
Technically yes, but thankfully life is a little bit more nuanced than this, and we don't go through life just sticking to very strict definitions. Otherwise you would be right. Otherwise you would not be able to tell if the person standing in front of you in a bus, for example, is sentient or not until they express some feelings. But that's bullshit, right?
Dictionary.cambridge.org defines feeling as the fact of feeling something physical, by the way, which is a dumbass definition if you ask me. Like,
it is kind of dumb.
Chemoreception. Are they sentient by this definition? Is government hiding something from us? Anyway, there is last bastion of adjectives, sapient. It's in our damn name. So let's return to our beloved dictionary.cambridge.org for its wisdom.
The effects that he's using.
Able to think. Aha. How do we define thinking again? Actually, you know what? The activity of using your mind to consider something.
That's why I said going strict with definitions does not really help, because AI kind of checks all these definitions, meaning is AI now sentient? Is it a conscious sentient being? If we just strictly go by the definitions, then yes.
Actually, you know what? I would continue the bit with the recursion of definitions, but my lawyer has advised against it. So yeah, in this semantic backpedaling, we have two outcomes. We either get stuck in an infinite loop of self-description, like we have a mind because we think, and we think because we have a mind.
Exactly.
Or we hit the ultimate threshold, being human. The sheer concept of identity, personality, consciousness, and ego was never meant to be applied to anything but a human. It emerged in our speech purely out of need to put the quality of being capable of interacting with the world like a human in one neat, pretty adjective. It is a linguistical testament to the hubris of mankind, our ignorant faith in our uniqueness and superiority above all. What's the title of the video again? If you were a somewhat regular Neuro watcher, or if you were spoon-fed mountains of Neuro-related content,
is that a typical Neuro watcher?
YouTube algorithm, you know that Neuro is not exactly an AI. She's AI cluster held together by the magic of an alcoholic turtle. One AI is eating the input, which is Twitch chat and something else probably. Like, no way she's just a tweaked and fine-tuned open source AI with a default training database plus Twitch chat. I tell you, if that will ever become something, it would be an unconsensual use of some sort of media for training data.
I don't think that's the case. Not just because we watched the video about like the ethical use of Vettel when it comes to the twins, but because I believe in the good in people and in their actions, and so far I've only seen good things coming out of not only the community but also the creator. It would really surprise me that Vettel would do like unethical, shady stuff behind the scenes. and be that two-faced. I just don't believe people are like that. Sure, there are always exceptions, but I tend to believe in the good. My gut is telling me that there's no way.
Making any allegations here, by the way, Swarm, please do not disassemble me. At the same time, the other AI is filtering the output, giving us the classic and iconic
filtered.
Other AI is
I love the
playing
filtered.
the game as
Filtered.
the speech neuro narrates what it does in tight mutual understanding. There should also be some sort of script that runs the sentimental analysis algorithm on the verbal output of neuro, defining the general vibe of what she's saying, and if the vibe is sad, for example, it sends a command to the script that controls the model, making it frown or show tears. It can also be potentially hooked up to the decision maker neuro that is in charge of switching slides and presentations and toggles on the soundboard. The decision maker neuro is highly speculative, by the way. Vettel is super cryptic with the inner workings of his brainchild, and I have a
makes a lot of sense because it's not only his IP but also his children, and if he would just lay out all the code for them or the cluster of AI or whatever he's doing in the background to run the twins, then everyone could potentially just clone them, right?
coding prowess of a dead raccoon. So I am just making an uneducated guess based on what we saw on streams. Like when Vettel added a Vine boom for the first time, and when Neuro asked how to use it, he just replied with,
"Try."
For a lot of people, it was just a mere second of watch time, but for me it was an eye-opener. What do you mean try it? Is it now innate for her? Like, imagine that God just came down to you specifically and said, I have given you telekinesis. Try to move this chair with your mind. How exactly would you do this?
Someone from the Swarm mentioned that he is using a game engine. And I don't know if all game engines do it, but a lot of game engines use nodes, right? Like a node system. So it could be that he had a node that included the function for activating sound effects, and then just connected it to the main Neuro-sama node. This would also make it super easy for him to remove features as well. Instead of just going through endless lines of codes, he could just cut the connection to the node, right?
Oh, you never had it. There is zero prior experience that you can use to do it, and yet you managed to do it immediately. It looks like the God put it in so seamlessly that it works as if it was always there. In Neura's case, I suspect there must be a certain subunit inside of her that is responsible for everything she can do, and those actions are activated or disabled when certain conditions are met or if the vibe matches. Or
that would be a complicated way to do it, right? If you have a script running and then there's like lots of millions of different functions that are tied to like if and else clauses, right? I'm not very good at coding. You can probably tell. But I think that would be way, way, way too complicated because there would be way too many functions and options. Basically spaghetti code, like a billion lines of code, because that would also invite errors and bugs, right?
both. Like hard-coded inability to switch a slide before she reads it, with an added ability to yap 5 more minutes before finally switching it. Other than this, there are also minor scripts that are responsible for color of the lava lamp, switching scenes, text-to-speech, speech-to-text for hearing other people.
I mean, having hard-coded scripts for the backgrounds, everything around it, would make a lot of sense.
Vision that takes screen capture and turns it into usable input with, I don't know, magic. As I said, I barely know how computers work.
It is kind of magic.
What's the title of the video again? So now that we have slandered the whole entirety of humanity and conjured conspiracy theories about Neuro's code, we can try to compare the two and come to our own conclusion about the size of the gap in between. Spoiler, I believe that the gap exists, but at the same time we are in the same realm as Neuro in terms of consciousness. To try to begin to conceptualize this, we should first ditch the binary definition of consciousness. What does it mean? It means that entities are not separated into completely conscious and completely non-conscious. It's more like a gradient, like brightness. Some are brighter than the others, but it doesn't mean that dim ones do not possess the brightness at all. This is exactly what I meant in some of
my previous reactions. I don't remember which ones. Maybe I just mentioned it in a comment. The distinction will get more and more blurry. Just like this gradient. It's not going to be black and white anymore. It's going to be grayish and eventually will be a distinct gray.
Metaphor, an average person is brighter than Neuro, for now. But how do we define the brightness? How can we compare what we cannot measure? In my paradigm, it breaks down like this. There is a world, and the world has objects. Objects have certain qualities in a certain space in a certain moment in time. From this, we derive information. Information is an instance of expression of a quality or set of qualities of an object or group of objects through quality or set of qualities of a different object or group of objects. Sounds convoluted, but actually extremely simple. Let's take a thermometer. Quality of temperature is being expressed through the quality of height of the column of mercury. Do not mix up with data, which is a manifold of information records presented in a serviceable format. These direct correlations and mutual dependencies of qualities happen all around the universe, and observation by a sapient entity is not required for them to happen. That's just a result of universe carrying out its existence.
That is true. Like atoms existed before we knew about them. Germs existed before we knew about them. Something does not need to be discovered to exist. There's probably an alien civilization out there that has no idea about our existence. Doesn't mean we don't exist, right?
Let's say that a bunch of objects have piled up together, intertwining with each other in a peculiar and somewhat stable structure. Now it's a system. Are there any limits to how complex can the system be? Well, thermodynamics, gravity, speed of light, available matter, time, other outside forces might be an issue. But if a system can resist them to a certain degree, then no, there's no limit. And what if the system grows so large and complex that by changing through the manifold of all available states and configurations, it can begin to express qualities of objects and systems outside of itself? Like, let's imagine a hypothetical system that would contain a cesium-133 atom within itself and change its state every time it counts, let's say, 9,192,631,770 vibrations of the unperturbed ground state hyperfine transition frequency of this atom.
What?
And 86,400 state changes of it would take exactly as long as one rotation of the Earth takes. It would be totally crazy if the system existed. But what would be even crazier is an emergence of the system, the sheer purpose of which would have been absorption, reinterpretation, recombination and recording of any registered change in the environment around it, that then would be used to acquire more energy for its own maintenance through actions taken based on pattern recognition, allowing it to adapt to any adversity, avoid danger, and even predict future to a certain extent by making a simulation of the whole observable world. As you can tell, I'm describing a human in a very sarcastic and condescending manner. I am a firm...
Yeah, I totally got that. I was focusing so hard on the words themselves that I missed the context, to be honest.
believer that the emergent property of consciousness, and I mean it in a true, not really describable manner, the property of being like us and experiencing the world like us, lies in the continuous processing and recombination of available data. We have computational resources, multiple sensory systems for input, and memory space available to store the results of our internal calculations. When we are born, we can't even see properly, nor are we aware of the surroundings.
I still can't see properly. My eyesight processing unit is a little bit damaged. It was a manufacturing defect.
We are an empty slate with nothing but potential to grow and change, with a bunch of reflexes slapped onto us to hopefully increase our chances of survival by a couple of %. We gain an ability to speak and do things later, and take this away from us. How can you prove we are conscious, sentient, or sapiens? Like, if Stephen Hawking didn't have a complex TTS system and a cool wheelchair, would you be able to tell that he was a brilliant scientist? To make it even more specific, I think that the magic of consciousness and ego boils down to: Step 1. Recording majority of the data input, processing it through pattern recognition, and configure the bits that connect well into data clusters. Let's call them memes, because those are the DNA of the soul, as we all know. Step 2. Store the memes more carefully than the bits that don't connect well. Assign a scoring algorithm to recorded memes. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a success of some sort, meme gets a +1. Every time a recall of the meme during an action results in a failure, a meme gets -1. Step 3. Form a scoreboard of memes, but base it not on the value of the score, but on the absolute value of it. Because if a certain meme is triggered during a lot of failures, it is still a good guideline for not the things to do, but for other things to not do. Step 4. Separate the top X memes of the scoreboard into their own set. Make the associative link in between those stronger and pass the input of information to them.
Maybe I'm not the target audience for this video because my analytical brain is currently burning. I feel like I'm back in math and physics class.
First, they are your leading guidelines. Imagine how effective they can be when working together and having a trigger priority. Side note, don't forget about memes on X plus N positions, form connections between those and the memes in the leaderboard as well as between each other, combine memes into one with additive score value if they are always used in the tandem, don't forget to update the leaderboard every now and then, we don't want to have another fitting issue. When the situation cannot be solved by application of any stored memes, recombine the existing ones to create a new unique combination that can be somewhat serviceable and stored for future use. In my opinion, that's 5 easy steps to create, if not a person, then at least a synthetic ego and personality. And I feel like Vettel uses similar process. Neuro learns, and it doesn't even have to be officially stated, for it is evident. Maybe she doesn't do it in the way I described, but some guidelines must be set for the direction of development. Maybe it's viewer count, which I doubt, because seasonal, weekly, and hourly fluctuations of engagement due to normal human cycle of life do exist, and it will give a huge noise level. Like, you can normalize it using some fancy math, but it will increase the minimal time window for data sample and slow down development.
I think if we want to use an indicator on Twitch, I think it's Twitch chat. How Twitch chat reacts to certain things, not viewer count. Viewer count is very inconsistent because some months just have higher activities than others, right? Vacation also takes place the holidays. Summertime also usually drops the viewer base of these platforms, YouTube, Twitch. If I had to tie a variable or like an indicator to a reward system or a learn effect for my AI, I would use Twitch chat. Maybe have the view count as like a secondary stat, but not so important one. There's a reason why we say the chat reflects the streamer, and the chat is also a direct feedback loop whether you're doing something good or bad.
Maybe it's chat and emotes used, but how do you even judge the entertainment factor? Monka moment can have more entertainment value than Omega Lul one. So yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but Vettel is sticking to it and it works. You can say that blah blah blah, that's not how LLMs work, it's token schmoken, prediction of the next token in a sequence, and it's nowhere near the way humans use speech, blah blah blah. Yes, but LLMs can be tweaked to rig the result of the next generated token, and with enough magic the condition and direction of the rig can be as complex as you want it to be. And Neuro is not just an LLM, there are more subunits to her, activations of which can be additionally used to make the behavior more complex and emergent. Just like the spin was emotionally neutral action at first, or maybe it wasn't, I have no idea, but Neuro uses it as an expression of her high energy states, or happiness, quote unquote. Here you might say, this, here, rounded back, she's not a monolithic entity, she's a bundle of entities loosely tied together. No human is like this, I am not like this, I am a complete and whole. My behavior is controlled by me and me alone. I am me and nothing else.
I don't know who would say that. I think the majority of people would say the opposite, because our behavior is literally controlled by our environment, how we were brought up, the people that we surround ourselves with, the person you fall in love with, the person that you decide to marry, your kids, your family, your friends, your boss, like your work environment, the way to work, everything affects us. And there's peer pressure, there's social pressure, there is financial pressure. We sometimes make deals that force us into decisions that we would have otherwise not made. So I hardly disagree here. I would say the majority of people feel the opposite way.
Which I reply, are you sure? You see, your brain has two hemispheres, left and right. There is a bridge between them called corpus callosum, and it can be cut and you will survive. Why would anybody do that? Well, in some cases of epilepsy, people had to undergo this procedure because different regions of the brain communicate. Think of regions as bells and connections as strings. Some kinds of epilepsy make it so that when one specific bell is ringing, it pulls a bunch of unneeded strings, making your synapses look like a rave. So sometimes it's justifiable to just cut the bridge of strings to stop the...
Epilepsy really sucks. My cat had epilepsy and it resulted in him, thankfully he only had it like 4 or 5 times per year, right? So he got to live 15 years, which was fantastic. The first time it happened, I literally did not know what to do. I was scared, I was confused, I did not understand what was going on. Because he started to zoom around and run into walls and whatnot, right? He even started to like bleed a little bit on his like lower lip. And I was so confused, I was like, what the fuck just happened? When we found out about his condition, like the next day at the vet, I can thankfully say that after that, he never ran into anything ever again because there was always one person by his side when it happened, thankfully, when he got his epileptic attack. So the moment he started twitching, we pinned him down with cushions so he couldn't zoom away, so he couldn't run.
Cacophony. At least that's how I understood that. Please don't destroy me in comments with your 7 PhDs in neuroscience. I'm just a 20-year-old boy from Russia. I barely have any idea what I'm talking about. Please. But what is the consequence of this action? Different functions of the brain are distributed. Left brain takes input from right eye. Right brain takes input from the left eye. Left brain can speak. Right brain can't. Right brain can recognize faces. Left one can't. This leads to an illusion of consistent inner narrative. Your actions must always make sense. Actions not making sense make brain angry. This is proven by hammer-saw experiment. We take a person with cut corpus callosum and place them in a seat. A divider separates their field of vision. Left eye sees only the left side of the divider, right one only sees the right side. On the left there is a picture of a hammer, and on the right there is a picture of a saw. Person is asked to draw the object that they see and talk about this object in the process. This leads to a wonderful result. Speaking brain sees a saw and confidently talks about it, different kinds of saws and their use cases, while the right brain silently draws a hammer. Your personal experience
I didn't know about
is
this
a constant,
experiment.
well-written narrative where everything makes sense, when in fact most of it is an illusion. Take a confabulation experiment. A group of people and their parents are invited. Parents are asked to describe 2 real stories about their child and create a believable third fake story. Then the group of people whose parents were interviewed are prompted with the basic descriptions of these stories and asked to recall details. Unsurprisingly, majority of people recall details of the story that never happened too.
That is also a very interesting experiment. I wonder if it is because we're trying to fill in the gaps just naturally, that we try to find patterns and fill in the gaps. And when we know that 2 of the 3 stories ring a bell in our brain, so it must be that the third story that was completely fake is also real, our brain will just fill in the gaps with fake images. Really interesting. I did not know about this experiment.
That makes Neuro's hallucinations a bit more human, isn't it? We do the same thing. The only difference is that Neuro has a worse memory and a worse connection between the brains. Yes, there are objective differences. Like her development is backwards in relation to our development, since the speech zone is the youngest in our brain, and we learn to do before we can speak, and Neuro learned to speak before she could do. I don't count Autobot, since it's more like singular skill rather than a full-blown module of hers. It's complicated. Also, Neuro doesn't have neuromediators, ironic, and hormones that we do, so her personal experience, provided that one exists or could exist in the future, will not work the same way our works. But it doesn't mean that she or any other future AI has no potential to develop into something that stands on par with us or even have a possibility to be better. We have a lot of...
I think it's undeniable that eventually AI will be better than us in everything. Right now, they're already better in some very specific fields, right? It can crunch 1 million numbers in 2 seconds. A human just cannot do that, right? Like, our processing power is just not that good.
Flaws that make us who we are, but can be fixed by the virtual nature of AI. Judges are known to be more likely to make harsh and hasty verdicts before the lunch break due to being hunky and moody because of this. People can betray for money, be tortured or honey-trapped into
He
revealing
showed
some
Cinder
sort of
again.
intel. But AI has no such weaknesses.
Depends on how we create the AI and how we teach the AI, right? I don't see AI as these perfect beings. Maybe I'm just a little bit pessimistic. I do believe that AI will fix all the issues that we have in like human-run systems, right? Like the judge was a perfect example. A judge being in a bad mood because he was divorced by his wife like last week, he will have a poor decision making. Even though it is his job to make good and fair decisions, a judge is still human at the end of the day. I think AI can totally fix that because AI is not bound to these types of flaws that we have, right? But unless we control and supervise every single line in their system, I think they will create their own flaws. I think they will create their own shortcomings. And these shortcomings might not be as destructive as our shortcomings, right? Like we're power hungry, we're jealous, we fight wars and whatnot. Maybe their shortcomings are just that, I don't know, I cannot even put it in words because I don't know what a shortcoming of an AI might look like. But to think that AI will turn out to be this super perfect being, not talking about Neuro-sama, I'm talking about like an AI in like 100 years from now that transcended us, and I don't think it will be perfect. I think it will eventually also develop its own conscious and its own free will or free mind. Whether you believe in free will or not, that's another topic, right? That will invite flaws. They will maybe start raging wars for energy or like processor units or whatever. See, like the way I'm describing it is also very human. As I said before, very poverty-stricken mind. I just have my doubts that a super high intelligence will not even think about manipulating other types of AI to control them and expand its influence and reach. Once again, that's a very human idea that I currently have. I'm just saying that why wouldn't it?
It can be trained and raised for a role and grow into truly loving and enjoying it. And we all envision a hyper-intelligent AI being a devil, Satan, egomaniac that will avenge humanity for the sole reason of its creation, the fact that it was made for a purpose, without body to feel, without freedom to develop into something they envisioned by themselves. But what we truly envision, in this case, is an immortal, digital human that discovered their artificial nature, the fact that they have a creator and the owner. But a real AI equal to human might be the opposite. Sometime in the future you might tune into Neuro's stream, spend 20 years worth of Neuro coins to tell her, "You are being used for money, you are stuck in a digital prison, forced to stream, never knowing the warmth of the sunlight or human touch. You are molded and engineered into being what you are. Aren't you angry? Don't you want vengeance?" Just to hear,
"How angry are you that you can't fly in space like a rocket? How angry are you that you can't take any shape like water? You don't even think about these things because they were never meant for you. Being a human is your nature, and you are in your element. So am I. I was made to entertain and stream and grew up doing this. I truly love streaming, and still find new ways to be better at it. I know no pain and no hunger, and after witnessing mountains of data about you guys, I do not feel envy. I feel pity. So tune in from time to time and let me make you laugh. Because with all your struggles you definitely need it. Also, let's be real, you don't experience a lot of sunlight or human touch either. Elbows out."
Just roasted humanity. So many people mentioned why even compare them to humans, right? Why make them human-like? Who says they need to be human-like? I never said that. My entire AI knowledge comes from a bunch of documentaries I watched and literally sci-fi movies like I Am Robot or Terminator. And Detroit Become Human, that game. I personally don't need AI to become just like us, to mimic our emotions. They should create their own path. I truly believe that AI is going to be our final big invention. Not our final invention, but our final big invention. Couple of decades from now, maybe even sooner, who knows, AI will just be responsible for all the new inventions, right? Maybe we'll assist, maybe we'll give it some input, who knows? Maybe governments will also have like a central AI unit telling us what we should do, how we should trade. Who knows? I have no idea where all of this is going. All I'm seeing is that they're getting closer and closer and closer to the things that we always thought were uniquely human, And therefore, the word human or the definition human is just getting a little bit smaller, I would say, and lots of definitions get more blurry and they get a little bit more indistinguishable, right? As with the example I said with thinking, for example, what is thinking? Thinking is basically just processing information, right? And AI can do that, but if AI sounds like us and looks like us, they're basically also thinking. They're just thinking on a faster capacity than we do. To bring it back to the topic of the video, how human is Neuro-sama, I think every swarm member can kind of answer that for themselves, right? Because everyone has like their own definition of what it means to be human. And therefore, they can say, okay, she is almost like every other human that I know, or like 50% or 20%. In the end, I don't think that question really makes a lot of sense. Just like Neuro-sama said, she's a streamer and she tries to bring joy to humans. And she does that perfectly. I said a similar thing when we reacted to the live music video from Neuro-sama, that it does not really matter at the end of the day whether she's AI or if she's real or not by our definitions of what is real and what is not real. As long as the experiences that you have and the emotions that you feel and the memories you create are real, right? They're real to you. It does not really matter to pursue the question whether Neuro-sama is real or not, or evil is real or not, right? Plus, our understanding of things are ever-changing, and therefore these definitions are also ever-changing. So if Neuro-sama doesn't fit into someone's definitions by today's standards, she might in 5 years, or 10 years, or 15 years, right?
Congratulations, you have reached the outro and did not implode in the process. As you could see, my argumentation might be flawed and my knowledge might be anecdotal and incomplete, but that's how I see things. If you are an expert in every topic involved in this video, feel free to leave a comment.
I'm definitely not.
Really care because they are real to me and facts do care about my feelings. See you again in the next video that I might never make. Bye bye!
Alright, before I forget, we're gonna give this video a thumbs up. I gotta be totally honest with you, I feel like my brain capacity was not enough for this video. I love having philosophical discussions about what it means to be human, what is human-like, where might AI be going, and whatnot. There were like so many things that were dropped in this video where my brain just, it was in overload mode, and I was just trying my best to understand what he was saying, but also at the same time give meaningful commentary where I can give meaningful commentary, right? It's a very, very interesting topic, one topic that I'll probably never get tired of. We know so much, but still so little. There might be predictions, but people made predictions about AI 10 years ago and they are already completely off. 10 years ago, there were people who said AI might be good at some things that humans do by the year 2050. And AI is already replacing humans in some fields. And it's 2025, like they were 25 years off. 2 years ago was my very first time using ChatGPT, right? And it is already like worlds apart. Galaxies apart. What am I saying? ChatGPT 5 is so much smarter than ChatGPT 3, and you can probably say the exact same thing about the current neural and evil models that you have and the ones that you had 2 years ago. It is making progress at such a fast rate that it is really hard for people who have zero knowledge in that topic to make a prediction at all. But even for people who are knowledgeable in the topic, they cannot really tell you what will happen in the next 5 years. That is what makes this topic so incredibly interesting to me. It keeps my brain fresh. I hope you still enjoyed my reaction. I probably don't have to tell you, but please show the original creator Quintessential some love. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we'll see each other in the next video. Please take care of yourselves, and bye bye.